Welcome to the Pizza Party. This is the Pizza Guy DIY. Today I'm going to show you a product called It'll Be Pizza, which is a frozen dough ball that ships, well, it's a dough ball made in a factory, and then they freeze it, and then they ship it to your supermarket, and the supermarket or grocery store puts it on the shelf, and it thaws out, and then you pick it up and you bring it home, and it sits in your fridge for a few days, and then you cook it. Okay, so we're going to talk all about this. Ready? Let's go. Oh, the only flavor they had on the shelf was basil when I went to the store, and as I understand it, they don't have a plain or standard or normal pizza dough. They might, and maybe I overlooked that, but I've seen garlic, basil, gluten-free, white pizza dough for using a white pizza sauce, and then beer dough. So anyway, I will try to find these at my store, but I only go to the store on Sunday, and they're usually always sold out. So in this case, I got lucky, and there was a basil dough ball. And first time I'd ever seen it, I bought one immediately. And here is what the package looks like. It's $3.50 for the dough ball. And here is the backside of the packaging. So from that package, I decided that I want to know more. So I went to their website, and here are the cooking instructions for the website. If you look at the package, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping back and forth. You're going to have to pause the screen here and look at the cooking instructions. It says, preheat the oven to 475. After stretching your dough to the desired size, place it on an oiled baking sheet or preheated pizza stone and add your toppings. Cook for 10 or 12 minutes until golden brown. Okay, that's pretty generic, simplistic, blah, blah, blah. Let's look at what their website says. Let the dough fully proof. Dough should be soft. Preheat to 475 or 500. Oil the pan or screen. And then it says, or stone. Clearly, you can't put oil on a stone. But flour the dough and stretch it to the desired size. Place it on a pan, screen, or stone. Top with sauce, cheese, and toppings. Bake 10 to 12. Right? All they did was add a few words, or they cut a few words in order for it to fit on the packaging. But wait, there's more. I followed that information for my first dough ball. But later, I bought additional dough balls from this company, and I'll be showing you those in the future. So hopefully you're watching my videos in sequential order, but maybe not. You can always go back and look at, well, I guess you can't. If I'm talking about a future video, I'll tell you to come back and look at this video. Okay, so I asked AI for more information before or after buying my second It'll Be Pizza dough ball. So I asked AI, or I told AI that I bought a thawed dough ball labeled It'll Be Pizza, but it does not tell me how to prep it after I get it home, and it's in the fridge for 2 days. Do I leave it on the counter 1 hour in the bag, the plastic bag that it came in, to proof, or do I open the sheet, or what? Okay, now if you look here, dough should be completely thawed before use. It'll keep for 7 days. Best if used when the dough has almost doubled its original size. Well, you don't know what the original size was because they made it in a factory, they put it in a bag, and they froze it, and then they shipped it. And then it sat in the refrigeration area, not the freezer of the grocery store. Then they put it on the refrigerated shelving, so it's already half-proofed, maybe? I don't know, dude. It's like there's a lot of variables here. So thankfully, I have grown the cojones to go ahead and make my own damn dough. But this was a good stepping stone, and it's good in a pinch. Every Sunday I go to the store, I look for more of them dough balls after buying my second It'll Be Pizza dough ball. My first experience was okay, but I wanted my second experience with It'll Be Pizza dough ball to be better. So, I had already gone to their website and looked at their instructions, and I'd already read the package, and I just felt like, something's missing here, right? You got a frozen dough ball, like you have a factory making dough, basically flour and water, sugar and salt, right? And they roll it up and they put it in a bag. Then they freeze it, and then it ships to your store, and your store has it in the refrigerator, not the freezer, so that it starts to thaw. Then they put it on the shelf, and it's a refrigerated shelf, not a frozen shelf, right? So it's thawing there, and all of this time, it's proofing. It's slowly doing something. It's not just a static frozen ball anymore. But you have no idea how long that's been going on prior to you getting it home to your house. Anyway, I asked AI. I told AI I bought a thawed dough ball, and asked, do I leave it on the counter an hour in the bag to proof, or on an open sheet, or what? And AI replied, to prepare your thawed ball from It'll Be Pizza. So I got it from the store. It was colder than hell. It didn't I didn't squish it to see if it was solid, frozen solid in the middle. I didn't want to harm the dough, so I brought it home and I put it in the fridge, and it was in my fridge at 34 degrees. Frozen things don't thaw quickly at 34 degrees. They thaw very, very slowly. So anyway, AI said to prepare your thawed dough ball. Okay, I put it in my fridge for a couple of days, and I figured, all right, it's thawed to the point that it's not frozen anymore. So it says, remove the dough ball from the refrigerator and take it out of the packaging. Take it out of the plastic bag. Place it on a lightly floured surface or in a lightly oiled bowl to prevent sticking. So you can just plop it on the kitchen counter on some flour and leave it there. But I don't like atmospheric dust collecting on my food. So I oiled a mixing bowl, put my dough ball in there, and covered it with a dish towel, right? If you plan to use it the same day, let it rest at room temperature for 30 to 60 minutes to come to room temperature. Well, the temperature in our house is 67 degrees in the dead of winter and 75 degrees in summertime. So that's a pretty big spread, I think. And I think it makes a big difference. In fact, I've proven that it makes a big difference later when I start making my own dough. In future videos, you'll see that. So if you plan to use the same day, yeah, let it rest. And then for best results, especially if you want a well-developed crust and proper rise, allow the dough to proof at room temperature for at least, well, for 1 to 2 hours after it's warmed up. For me, my summary was, it will take it at least 1 hour to get up to room temperature after I remove it from the fridge, from the bag, place it in a bowl, and cover it with a dish towel. I'll let that sit for an hour to get to room temp, and then I'm going to give it a 2-hour period of time to proof or puff up. Okay, that's my thought process in this whole process. But that was my second dough ball. For this one, we're getting there, dude. Stick with me. All right, so AI also suggests that I cover the dough ball with clean cloth or plastic. Blah, blah, blah. If you're not ready to bake it immediately, blah, blah, blah. I already gave you my summary that I'm going to leave it out for an hour, and I'm going to let it proof for 2 hours. So instead of putting it in a pan, cover it loosely, yabba dabba do. Doubled in size. Here we go. You want the dough to have doubled in size and feel airy. At that point, it should be ready to be stretched, topped, and baked at a high temperature, 500 degrees, on a preheated pizza stone or baking sheet for 5 to 7 minutes until the crust is golden crispy. Well, oh man, let me back up here. Doubled in size. The dough ball never doubled in size. It got about 50% larger. Doubling in size to me means it would be twice as big as it was when I put it in there. But I think when it leaves the factory and it's frozen, it's about the size of a 12-inch softball. And when it gets to the store and it sits in refrigeration, then it sits on the refrigerated shelf, then it comes to my house and it sits in the refrigerator, it's about the size of a 16-inch softball. So if it was to double in size, it would be about the size of a freaking volleyball. I don't know, man. So anyway, yeah, it's a weird thing, but it actually turned out pretty good. Pretty good. Let's say that. Anyway, I decided that I would ask AI another question about, does the It'll Be Pizza dough ball make a 12-inch or 16-inch pizza, since they didn't address that on the packaging. And I just alluded to a 12-inch and a 16-inch softball. In its frozen form, I'm guessing it's a 12-inch softball. In its thawed form, it's 16-inch, because it's gonna puff up no matter what. So really, doubling in size would go from 12 inches to 24 inches, or 16 inches to freaking 32 inches. Come on, man. I imagine they mean circumference, but whatever. So a dough ball from It'll Be Pizza, especially the common 16-ounce, 1-pound size, is usually designed to make one 12-inch or 14-inch pizza. Or you can cut it in half and make 2 small, thin crust pizzas, giving you flexibility for either size depending on desired thickness and crust. It sounds like this AI is getting paid by It'll Be Pizza Company, but that's enough of that. Well, not yet. We're going to cover more. All right, so, well, not so much about the dough. So I did get the dough to proof, and I did get it to stretch out to about 14 inches. And I put it on a 16-inch pizza screen, which is on top of a piece of aluminum foil, because I take my aluminum foil, I get a silicone brush, I coat the whole thing with peanut oil, because peanut oil has a burn point of 450, a smoke point of 450. So it's just a light coating, and they tell you to put it in the oven at 450 to 500. So at 500, you're going to get a little smoke in the oven, but it's going to be the oil burning, not necessarily your pizza. Anyway, there's the crust. You can see little flecks of basil that are supposed to be in there. And I'm using a mason jar of tomatoes I got out of my garden, and what do I call it? Charred? Oven charred tomatoes. And yes, at this point in time, I was still using bagged cheese. But you can see that I got some thick sliced pepperoni coming, and I'm just trying to get rid of this container of grated parm. I should just chuck it, but I'm such a cheapskate. It is what it is. I'm going to keep putting it on a pizza. So now let's talk about that bag cheese from Walmart, Kraft, or any other store. Their shredded cheese is commonly going to contain cellulose as an anti-caking agent, which is derived from wood pulp or plant fibers. You can pause this and read, dude. Ultimately, there's a bullet point here that says it impedes melting. It leaves you with a gritty consistency to the melted cheese. So, bottom line, in the red, at the bottom line, for better melting and flavor, shredding cheese from a block of cheese at home is recommended, and that's all I am doing now. Is I'm always buying a 1-pound block of cheese. I have a cheese grater. I have this little sliding mandolin thing, but I cut that stuff out of my thumb, and those pictures are gruesome. Someday maybe I'll show them up here on the channel. But I cut a big hunk off my thumb, and surprise, I'm a lizard, man. That chunk that I took off the tip of my thumb grew back. It's numb, it's tingly, it's weird if you touch it to something, but in a natural state, it doesn't. I don't feel nothing. It's just when I press on that little tippy top, I can feel. I can't really feel tingles, but it's not like your arm fell asleep. Anyway, blah 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 blah. Here we go. So you're gonna get more than you bargained for on my channel, dude. All right, let's look at the next slide, and this is the pizza on the screen with that grated parm, because I'm just trying to burn it up, get rid of it. And then the bag cheese, and then the thick cut pepperonis, a couple of cherry tomatoes out of the garden just to have that flavor pop at some point, maybe. See if it happens. And the crust looks pretty darn good. Darn. See, I didn't swear. But yeah, it's a 16-inch pizza screen, and so I would put that at about a 14-inch pizza. And then I was surprised how much it puffed up. And, I did try to shape it to get that outer crust, and the outer crust doesn't have the cheese holding it down from puffing up, and it came out looking really, really good. Except it might have been in there just a smidgen too long. I was hoping to get a little more color on the top, and so you can see the perimeter crust got a little darker than I would prefer, but on the bottom it was way darker than I would prefer. And surprise, surprise, it didn't taste burned. It didn't even taste charred. There was no blackened flavor at all. Ultimately, it was a weird, excessive yeast flavor, which I do not associate with the basil flavor that the dough claims to be. And that's what it looks like after you cut it up. And here is just a beauty shot. My name is Troy from troysweb.com. Visit my website and find links to other categorical channels. There's more stuff coming on this channel, but I just want to back up real quick and say that I left 2 slices of this for my roommate and said, "Hey man, it's black on the bottom, but I don't taste it. Maybe my tongue has been burned too many times. Let me know what you taste." And I sent him this picture. Well, he replied back the next day and said, "Pizza was great. Didn't taste burnt at all." So I don't understand how it can be that charred and that dark and that color and not have a burned flavor to it. But maybe it's just such a thin, like when you think about croissant rolls or pastry, it's like layers. Dough is layers of, and just it's only that outer layer that got that dark color, but it didn't get through to leave a flavor. I don't know, man. Anyway, all in all, the It'll Be Pizza basil was like really, really, what do you call it? Really yeasty flavored, very strong bread flavor, and I didn't care for it as far as that. It didn't have the burn flavor, but the cellulose cheese was adequate. The thick cut pepperonis, I think that was one of the first handful of times I've tried them, and I love them because you get twice the pepperoni, man. They're 2 inches and twice as thick instead of a little 1.5 inch cupped pepperoni stuff that you get from Hormel or whatever. And then I started buying some 3-inch sandwich style pepperonis. I talk about that in other videos. And I'm gonna do 3 different pepperoni pizzas eventually with 3 different types of pepperonis, and do my own little taste test and just get it down to where I'm trying to build Old Faithful, right? I'm gonna get my dough and crust foundation built. Then I'm gonna move on to Old Faithful, which is sauce, cheese, pepperoni. Boom, every Friday night. And then on Saturday, I can freestyle and add onions, peppers, sausage, bacon, sausage. I already said sausage. Mushrooms, pineapple, jalapenos, ham, Canadian bacon, whatever, peanut butter and jelly. I said it. Anyway, subscribe, like, share, comment. Bye.